it's fantastic to see such a massive audience. It's what I like. And it's especially nice to see lots of people I've never seen before. That's one of the nicest things, you know. You look at the sort of, no, I've seen you before loads of times, not you. But it's just really an honour, and it's really, really nice. If I have my phone with me, I must explain, I'm not expecting a call. Well, I might be. But I live in Dorset and I have a train to catch. So I'm going to read some poems and then I am really going to shoot like an arrow through the door. So you mustn't think me rude or anything. And I haven't got any books, but you know, there's Amazon and you can just find your own way of getting my book. Anyway, thank you for coming. It's so, so nice. And I'm going to start with a few poems from my old book, you know, and then I shall read some poems from my new book because there's no sort of choice, you know. I haven't got to see any poems like stuck in my back pocket. I wish I had. Then I'd read them to you. Well, I have, but they're not, you know, good enough. Anyway, today I was on the Caledonian Road. Now, there may be people in this room who don't know the Caledonian Road, but I'm sure there are many that do. And I've got a particular affection for the Caledonian Road. Caledonian Road is nothing can change it. Nothing can change it. And it's one of those London roads. There are many, many London roads that has a very, very particular character. And I wrote this poem a long time ago, and then without thinking, I happened to be visiting somebody who has a little gallery next to a glass warehouse on the Caledonian. And I'm on the Caledonian Road. So I thought I've got to read this poem. Here we go. To a window on the Caledonian Road. I look at you, and then I look away, as if you were a disfigured face. Perhaps the rooms have been partitioned. Your curtain is bridal, but unhemmed. Behind you, a woman lights a cigarette and throws her lighter at the tiger on the bed. She is sitting at a dressing table, piped with gold, snipping the silk bows from her shoes before taking out her baby in his stroller to have his ears pierced and to have silver comets painted on her nails. No one monitors you, for you are on the road that only changes to become more like itself. I like you because you're positioned oddly, and because you remind me of a time when houses went unpainted, and because you have nothing to do with my depression. I'm going to read you this poem because there's a man who comes into my poems sort of every now and then, and this is one of the poems that I wrote about him in my last book. He's sort of myself, really. He travels around observing things, and he has little relationships and then so on. Anyway, this is The Last Kiss. Wind down the window, she mimed at him, and she kissed him one last time. Her tongue already tasted of other men. Here darkness fell suddenly every day, and the young men tipped their girlfriends off their laps, and they would walk to the edge of the village on the unmade road. With his arm around her shoulders, she crocheted white rosettes while she walked, keeping the dogs off them with a kick, calling out to the other girls and laughing in her own harsh language. In the town there was a street of shops that sold nothing but ornate knives, another lined with tiny booths where clubbing dresses hung from the ceiling. If you wanted one, the shopkeeper got it down for you with a hook. By nightfall, he'd be in Trieste. This is another character. I've only written about him once, but perhaps he'll come back if I'm lucky. In the title, I mentioned something called a passing cloud. Passing cloud is the name of a particularly delicious Turkish cigarette They're terribly expensive. You can't buy them, you know, at Smith's or anything. You have to go to a very swanky humidor and sort of, you know, grovel and things. But the thing that's so special about them, apart from the deliciously sweet and fragrant tobacco, is that they're oval. They're not round like an ordinary cigarette, they're oval, which is kind of mysterious. And anyway, this is the tragedy of the passing cloud smoker. In summer, he took his mother to the lakes for her cure. They would have lunch on the terrace. Insalata tricolore, vitello tonato e fragole del bosco. She'd wipe her mouth and say, "Would you mind very much if I skip coffee? The masseuse has pummeled me half to death, and I must keep up to date with my diary." He'd take the vaporetto to the other shore and merge with the families in the streets, or we'd drive into town to the casino and play roulette for half an hour, or just watch the action at the table, the mottled hands and sparkling stones. He'd go back to the hotel with a gift for her, a basket of marzipan seashells, or a pair of gloves bought from a beautiful glossy-haired assistant in a boutique behind the basilica. At 7, she would appear on the piano nobile with her hair down, all ruffles and gauzy swags, dithering on bow legs, brandishing a postcard. "Listen to the latest from that sister of yours. In love, she insists, with a marvellous man. Angelo, ancora uno champagne cocktail per favore, molto freddo. My son will have a beer." At night, there were always women on the terrace, usually in pairs, sympathetic and good listeners. And best of all, he liked the women of the brothel, who welcomed him and understood his needs. Nice guy. Okay, I'm going to read a poem I don't read very often, but I've got a particularly nice reason for reading it, which I don't need to disclose now. Never mind. It's called The System. Another coruscating cult film is showing in the flock-lined bowels of the complex behind the pumpkin dish restaurant. It's the story of Chang, son of indentured slaves, and his revenge on the maniac power system. It's set in some shark-skin republic of alley slayings, contract rapes, fraudulent designer accessories, effluent from canneries, insatiable maggots, and onyx malls where women lunch with forks. He skewers the decorated mighty to their office chairs and sees to it that whatever fetches up in the harbour, besides the lost passports and the severed hands, lands on their blotters. In every scene there's a white horse, an old celebrity from the advertising days, on whose wise back the hitman's daughter rides each afternoon to meet her man. But the price gets too high, and she goes over to the other side, and Chang forgets to listen to his chi. At the end, there's a slow, and I hear, stunningly crafted scene, where the hero is lured down to the river and executed between two boats. We watch him realise, too late, what he'd got wrong. The embittered widow of the Minister of Justice was behind the counterplot, and as we pan away from Chang's broken body in her private jet, the whole thing starts up again. This much I've gathered from the reviews, but I'd rather be with you, darling, and your brown eyes.